Over the past week, we've been having a short-term bullish bias here for Bitcoin with likely targets around 115 to 117 region. And in today's video, we have now seen those officially, well, I suppose, hit more or less. And as I get back to my notes over here, I want to follow up on what this likely looks like over the next couple of weeks here, kind of coming into, I suppose, maybe the end of September as things do start to come to fruition and evolve in the background. So as always, we'll start it off with some good old daily price statistics. Friday, of course, is a little bit more weighted in terms of positive closures versus negative closures since this bull market began in 2020. As always, we're just much more interested in the average returns both for the gaining and losing Fridays, with the gaining Fridays gaining an average of 2.10% and the losing Fridays losing about 1.67. To put that into terms of price action to the upside, that would give us a natural boundary at around 118 if Bitcoin were to play that out. That would be pretty fucking big, to be honest. And if Bitcoin were to play at the downside of it, which, to be honest, I'm kind of, I don't think either one of these sides is going to get hit today, but to the downside, that would be about 113,600 or so. This does look like it's going to be more or less an inside day. And ultimately, that brings the question to where are we at in the greater picture here now that Bitcoin has more or less gotten right in the middle of our sort of major targeted regions with a high yesterday, last night of 116,300. Well, I do want to follow up on a few things. So the Revan ribbons over here, it's really hard to say quickly. That's why I'm like, maybe we should get a new name. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, the Revan ribbons, as we did go over in yesterday's video, did already hit the short-term target. That was this blue box right here. And then the sort of secondary target, the next sort of area of interest, I suppose, was this lower green level right here, which was 115,500. Bitcoin obviously spiked a little bit above there to about 116,300-ish region. And we did have kind of like a range of probabilistic targets between that and then also a Fibonacci retracement, which we did see right here, which did overlay some pretty important numbers. The 50% retracement level at 116,500 and the 618 over here at about 118,500. This for CME, by the way. You can just subtract about $1,000 from those numbers to get the same ones for spot. And yes, they are more or less the same, as Bitcoin has gotten into a nice little red circle, the red circle of destiny. And now I really do think, if we are going to see a rejection, this is kind of the area to be, I think, a lot more defensive in, because if there is going to be a rejection, if there is going to be a reversal, somewhere in this vicinity right here makes a lot of sense. Now, that is to say, Bitcoin could actually spike up a little bit higher than where it's at right now. But because we are kind of living within the bottom portion of that, I would say that, it's a little more relevant, right? It's a little more relevant. Like before, it was easy to be short-term bullish because most things were just pointed higher. We had targets higher. Now it's like, okay, we've hit the lower end of that. Now I'm looking for signals of rejection before confirming a reversal and then targets lower. So understand the sort of order of operations here. It's not necessarily bearish until that rejection is confirmed and thus a lower high is confirmed. But the puzzle pieces are in play here. That's my point. So let's get into what that essentially would look like. And in sort of areas of indication to kind of, I suppose, confirm this. So going actually back over here just really, really quickly to the daily HPDR, we can see Bitcoin did just wick off the top side of the 38.2 level. So just another one of those, areas of interest. This one actually a little bit more relevant to the actual top of what we have seen thus far. Again, don't discount it, maybe spiking a little bit higher. But like I said, if you're going to see a reversal, it's probably happening within this region. That also implies, if it goes much above like 117.5, 118, I mean, I think it's a lot less likely, but that would be obviously tremendously fucking bullish. Anyways, yeah, so a few things here. First and foremost, how would you confirm a local high, thus a lower high, thus all of the rest of the things that we're going to speak about becomes very much relevant. We need to see Bitcoin effectively flip back down below today's low, come back down below about 114.5, close the daily total below there. That would be on CME. On spot price action, the relevant number would be about 113,700. 113,700. As long as you're above there, yeah, hopium still exists. And I mean, technically, you could see a very easy spike a little bit higher. But ultimately, below that number is where these next sort of ideas start to really get confirmed. So first, we have the potential for hidden bearish divergence here on the daily RSI. This is on CME, by the way, as well. We have higher highs in the RSI right now relative to the highs that we did see from Thursday, the 21st of August, when Bitcoin was trading all the way up here at 118 or so. And so as long as Bitcoin is below there on this current rally, the potential for hidden bearish divergence does exist. Potential is not the same thing as confirmation. So for the lobotomized morons of this channel who just don't really understand these things, or perhaps don't understand timeframes as well, I don't know what to do. I really don't know why you watch these videos, to be honest. Like that's the real question. Like I'm genuinely curious why. But understand these things depend upon other events happening at this moment. So yeah, that would be the first condition for that, and that would confirm hidden bearish divergence. And then of course, because today is the weekly closure for CME, we actually have a couple of very high term timeframes closing for CME. We got the weekly, the bi-weekly, and the 3-week actually. So the weekly timeframe right here is actually probably the most optimistic of them three, because as it stands right now, if Bitcoin were to close at this exact price that CME is trading at right now, there actually would be hidden bullish divergence, which would supersede a lot of the things that we're looking at on the daily. That would continue to make me bullish for an extension of the short-term move to the upside. But if Bitcoin again comes back down, especially today and closes on CME below like 114, that would look pretty bad, or a spot comes below about 113,700. But here's the other things. On the 2-week time frame, which is naturally a higher term time frame than the weekly, thus it has more and holds more precedence and weight, there's a couple of things right here. One, bearish divergence on the last few highs. So we got 1, 2, 3 drives, not great. And then on top of that, the 3-week time frame, which is also closing tonight, is, as of right now, going to have the potential for bearish divergence as well. Once we load it, you can see 1, 2, 3 highs coming from the March 2024 highs, the January 2025 highs, then potentially the highs right here. As it stands right now, this 3-week time frame on the RSI, this is an RSI of something that does not want to go up in the immediate. I'll put it that way. Now, keep in mind, I mean, a 3-week time frame, each and every one of these periods is 3 fucking weeks. So this could still take theoretically another 6 weeks to realistically play out. If it even gets confirmed to begin with. But understand where those major numbers come in around, because once you have that first domino fall, then that sets off the dominoes for all of the other higher term time frames. So that's why, I really want to paint the picture or like the bigger picture here, because that would, I think that would be actually quite significant. Again, on this channel, we go off statistics and probabilities, and the setups that we do have still favor overall, an overall deeper correction, but a longer cycle basically. So it's kind of like I'm in a weird place compared to most of this market. Most of this market just wants Bitcoin to go to fucking $1 billion, quadrillion dollars immediately, or down to, $10 immediately. I'm not necessarily of that. I mean, personally, if I could construct this market exactly how I want, I'd want more of this sideways and up that, sets in a very nice base and becomes very, very constructive over time, thus begetting, a longer cycle of just fucking up. To me, that's beautiful. But I understand for the people who need 1 million X on a singular trade, maybe not as beautiful. Anyways, yes, there exists the potential for a bearish divergence here as well. So you'd have it on the weekly, bi-weekly, and 3-week time frame. If Bitcoin, again, were to close below, especially 114 today, that's where things start to look relatively bad. But as it stands right now, we got 6 hours, 44 minutes left to go in the day. A lot can happen, so we shall see. And as long as Bitcoin's above those numbers, hey, there still exists the possibility for, at least another extension to the upside, maybe towards that 117.5 number. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to get into some stochastic momentum. Again, keeping in mind that the higher term timeframes for CME are closing literally today. The 3-week time frame is going to close and cross to the downside on the stochastic oscillator for the first time since January 2025, and the time before that was, of course, June of 2024 and March of 2024, both effectively during that major correction during 2024. And that will inevitably be happening today, assuming Bitcoin does close the day below 119,300. Right now, trading 115,500. So, a lot closer to the downside pivot than it is the upside pivot right now. Again, long day left to go. A lot of things can happen. But assuming that Bitcoin is still below 119,300 by the end of today, that's kind of a hard signal to ignore. Again, this is the 3-week time frame. It can take a long fucking time to play out. It could very easily be that, upon the next 3-week open, we spend another 3 weeks maybe trying a little bit to the upside, maybe even all the way around 119 or 120-ish region. And then, after that, actually play out some downside. It could very well look like that. That's the kind of issue with looking at these higher term time frames, is that, I'll talk about something right now, but realistically, I mean, if that even is going to play out, it's going to take a while. Like, it's going to take a lot of fucking patience, of which I have very little today. Anyways, the bi-weekly time frame, as we also discussed earlier, is also closing today. This one, it's kind of flippy floppy right here, but as of right now, it will officially cross the downside alongside the 3-week time frame, or this one will actually just continue to the downside because it already was crossed the downside, assuming Bitcoin finishes today below 119,500. So again, in my opinion, looking more likely than not. And then, of course, the weekly time frame is already heavily to the downside and has been for a while, and will not cross the upside upon today's closure unless the Bitcoin finishes today above 118,400. So you got the weekly, bi-weekly, and 3-week time frame all aligning in the same direction, realistically for the first time in about a year, or a little bit over a year. And that, these are higher term timeframes. This does speak towards the greater momentum of Bitcoin. So moving on from there, I did also want to, well, actually, I don't know. Do we want to talk about about the MACD? The MACD is kind of interesting to me here. I know we don't talk about it too much on this channel, but I mean, do I really want to get into it? I don't necessarily want to get into it right now. It is interesting, but we don't need to we don't need to make this video any longer than what it needs to be, which is already 10 minutes. And I've been doing some long videos recently, man, and I know it's difficult to sit through those. I know it. Anyways, I appreciate everyone who's kind of listening at this point to begin with. But yeah, so I'll bring you back to the same setup that we've been referencing several times now on this channel over the past couple months, and especially over this past week since this one did once again fire off. And this is the 4-day time frame now. So it is an interplay between the red moving average and the yellow moving average. When the red moving average crosses the downside of the yellow moving average, a minimum correction to the green moving average is initiated. I mean, basically every time in the past 8 years, relatively quickly. As we went over in yesterday's video, those typically take on average, it's like within 4 days to meet their final destination, or at least, that green moving average. But even in the longest cases that we've seen over the past 8 years, the longest cases have happened twice. It's actually been in the past couple of years, so a little bit more recently. And these ones took 1, 2, 3 bars to meet their destination. Same thing over here as well, 3 bars in between those. So looking at this current one, we've already eaten up 1 bar. We are on bar number 2 right now, which will finish tomorrow night. Bar number 3 takes us into, I think, Tuesday of next week. Let me just double check. Yes, Thursday. Wow, I'm fucking retarded. I can't count days. That probably makes me redacted, but fair enough, man. It is what it is. I will deal with my own issues. Anyways, looking at this here, this one fired off as we went over several times in the past week, last week, and well, whether Bitcoin heads down there now or later, I think it is inevitable, just granted the history from this. Again, in the past 8 years, it's taken, the longest it's ever really taken is about, I guess that'd be 16-ish days, because you got to include the first one as well. Otherwise, technically, it's 12 days. Yes, I get that. But, we're already kind of about halfway through this one, I suppose. So yeah, keep in mind that green moving average is creeping up, to be fair, but it is at 104. It's at 104,000 US dollars as of the moment. And again, that's a minimum target. We have seen more often than not that price action overshoots that. For example, this iteration right here overshoots it by, double-digit percents. Same thing with this one over here and this one over here. These over here, a little bit less so. And then we have several iterations over here. Again, major overshoots. Namely, probably the worst offender was the Rona dump over here. This one, I just want to measure this one out. This is pretty fucking nuts, actually. From the green moving average to the low, yeah, almost 54.5%. Crazy shit. Anyways, my point is that when I have a setup like this that has been, has met that destination for 8 straight years, which I more or less define as kind of like the modern era for Bitcoin, I'm always going to, on this channel, I'm always going to favor the thing that is more probabilistically likely. Does that mean I'm always going to be right? No, obviously not. Again, if you're lobotomized and you don't understand statistics and probabilities, I actually really just don't even understand why you're watching a channel like this. I mean, I guess thanks for the what's it called, the engagement. But I don't know. I'm always going to do that. Again, it's not always going to be right. And I'll be very, very happy to be wrong in this one with that bias because, well, at the end of the day, I hold Bitcoin, and going up is better than going down. But again, personally, I cannot ignore a setup like that. Whether it happens, in the next week, whether it happens in the next month, I don't fucking know. Again, we do have an event next week with the FOMC. The anticipation here is that interest rates will be reduced. And historically speaking, the first month of a reduction of interest rates has generally been bad for asset prices. Why? I don't fucking know, but that's just what the data is. So that is why that again is why I'm going to favor something like that happening. Now, again, if we fast forward a year out from that time, even probably a few months out from that time, things are generally up and up big, I should add as well, which I think really bodes well for, a much more prolonged cycle. In fact, I don't even think that cycles are cycles really anymore, but hey, I'll let history prove me wrong on that one. But I would hope actually that one doesn't get proven wrong, just because, it'd be much better if we got like one of those epic gold moves, Here, I'll show you something. I'll show you something maybe for the naysayers out there in the world. Like, be careful what you wish for on a parabolic blow off top, because here's what you could get. I'll bring you back to about the time that gold got an ETF somewhere. This chart actually doesn't even go back around there. It was actually back, I think it was actually pre these times. But anyways, once gold got the ETF, it was just a grind to the upside, similar to this that you see right here. Actually, let's ask Grok. We're going to ask Grok right now, okay? We're going to do this one together. When did gold get its first ETF? We're going to learn something. I'm going to learn something today. Maybe you already know this, but let's see. Okay, I need to tell it just the fucking year. Please just give the year. As you can see, I never do editing or nothing like this. But yeah, we'll wait for that one to populate. Maybe I can just get a fast. Oh no, we got it. Okay. It's actually 2003. Okay. For some reason, I thought that it was much earlier than that. I apologize. I was wrong on that one. Yeah, 2003 was right here. So it literally was this wrong. That's why it does look very familiar to me, because I've seen this before. Anyways, to put this into perspective, gold at this point was already a fucking tremendously large market cap, much bigger than Bitcoin is right now. And well, it went up 400% from there, basically unabated, which is tremendously massive. If we were to do the same numbers for Bitcoin, which imagine for Bitcoin, it theoretically should be larger just because it is a lower market cap. What's 5x the current number? That puts you in the 500,000. So fair enough. Anyways, but again, it happened over a long period of time. I know people absolutely despise hating to wait for things. But hey, in my opinion, that would be the most ideal situation long term. Anyways, I think that's probably a good place for me to be leaving off on this video. Again, I do have to reiterate, though, despite these setups emerging in the background and existing in the background, actually, I still have to have a very, very short-term bullish buys. It's just right now is the time where I'd say, if you do want to be looking for a lower high, now is the time to be a little more defensive, but it needs to be confirmed before it becomes actionable, at least in the way they look at things. Look, you're free to do whatever the fuck you want to do. I just want to make sure that my thoughts are very, very coherent and stated forthrightly, without any sort of misinterpretation. I guess I can't really control people's interpretations, but yeah, my point is this is about the area that you'd be expecting if there is going to be a nice rejection. There might be another spike up into this region, and until Bitcoin, again, very specifically closes below on CME, it would be 114.5, or on spot, it'd be 113.750 on a daily time frame. There still exists a possibility of some short-term upside. Once those conditions are met, local highs are confirmed. That has a major domino effect into not just the daily time frame, but also, the 5-day time frame, the weekly, the 2-week, the 3-week, and perhaps even higher than that as well, for both momentum oscillators and divergence indicators. And then that brings into question, okay, is this setup going to play out from there? Because the timing starts to make a lot of sense with that, alongside the interest rate stuff as well. That's kind of the bigger picture that I'm looking at right now. You can see how all the puzzle pieces fit together. Hopefully, how one domino would affect the next. But again, it requires that first domino to fall first. Until that happens, could very well just be a fucking massive green dildo party to the heavens and beyond. Anyways, that's what we'll end things for today. Apologies for the no live stream. I had a bit of a doctor's appointment. Nothing serious, nothing like that. Just a nice little finger up my asshole, which is really, really good. Feels great, man. Getting ready to go back soon. But we'll be back on Monday, is what I'm trying to say, with another live stream. Until then, take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.